Howdy, howdy, Cubers. Chill MTG, and we are in the Vintage Cube with a special stipulation. Have you ever wondered how good the card recommender is for the drafting portion on Vintage Cube? I have, and I kind of wanted to see how well it would do if we just picked the cards that MTGO recommended. So you can see here, first pick, we are passing on a Mana Drain to pick up a Shriekmaw. So we'll take the Shriekmaw because we have to, and then see what the rest of this draft will look like. Here in Pack 2, this Baneslayer Angel, it's okay, but I'd rather take some fixing like the Coalition Relic or maybe the Copter down there in the bottom, but we'll pick up the 5-drop. All right, looks like we're getting a Nissa. Nissa Vastward Seer is okay. I'd much rather have that Lelia, but at least it's not another 5-drop. Batter Skull, okay. The 5-drops continue. So it doesn't seem like the recommender here understands that we don't need a lot of high mana value cards. Keys to the Vintage Cube are mana acceleration, fixing, and interaction, in my opinion. All right, a Mana Flare. I'd rather take the Bloodstain Mire or a Cultivate maybe. We can pick up our first red card. Okay, passing on Chandra and Grim Monolith for our first blue card. So definitely feeling the 5 colors. Ooh, all right, this isn't bad. A Tri-land we can take. That might be useful. So far our first 7 picks are Wooburg, colors, a colorless, and a land. Keeping our options open, that's for sure. Eternal Witness. Okay, not bad. And a Murktide Regent. We do have one sorcery or instant. All right, here we'll take the Gideon. And a Collective Brutality. That's more interaction. I can take that. All right, Pelucranos. Would much rather have the Taiga. Right now, I think our average mana value is somewhere around 4. Mutavault. At least it's a land. Passing on the Cultivate. Student. Hey, it's a 1-drop. And a Goblin Guide. Another 1-drop. Okay. All right, starting out here with Young Peasy. Again, some fixing lands would be in order. Right now we do have a Portent and a Collective Brutality to work with the Pyromancer. Resto. That's an okay pick out of this pack. I can get behind that choice. Knight. Passing on the Hallowed Fountain. Ephemerate. I'm surprised that we were able to get that Tri-land first pack. Man, here's a Prismatic Vista and a fetch land for our Tri-land, but I think we need another 5-drop. And a 6-drop to follow it up with. Hey, there's a Swift Spear. I'll take a 1-drop for sure. Hey, another 5-drop. All right. I'm liking this mana curve. Past in Flames. Perfect. Perfect. I think we have 2 sorceries right now. No, 3, counting Ephemerate. Hydroid. Okay. Not the worst. We don't have a lot of blue cards right now. And no blue-green fixing. Okay, I can get behind an unlicensed Hearst here. It's either that or Garrick. No breeding pool. Definitely not. Cannot take the breeding pool there. Hey, land tax might be useful though, to be honest. Thalia. And it's Ooze here. Okay. Oh, pack 3. Man. Mox Sapphire would be amazing, but the bot picker thinks we definitely need the Giver of Runes. So we'll go ahead and ship that measly Mox to our left and take Giver because it's way stronger. Yeah, definitely favoring creatures over interaction. So the Monastery Mentor with only 3 instants and sorceries in this draft so far is not the greatest. Yes, okay, Jackal Hops. Who needs Oko when we could take a super niche 6-mana sorcery? I mean, I guess it triggers Monastery Mentor, right? Okay, Jace is a decent card. Not a lot of instants and sorceries to go with Jace, though. Kind of a theme. Palace Jailer is actually a decent pick here. Okay, Repeal is actually a decent pick here as well. Again, no lands, no fixing. And an Elspeth is actually not bad. Okay, so we're definitely getting a decent amount of white cards. And there's Natural Order. Always Natural Order for that Thragtusk. And Regrowth, okay. Definitely got a pile drafted here. And a Koth. Chrome Mox would have been perfect. Ooh, and Heartbreed is Spring. Okay, so we have Mana Flare, Past in Flames, Heartbeat. Maybe we're supposed to be doing a Storm deck here. Scrap Heap, alright. At least that goes in any color. And a Thirsty Adversary's fine. Ooh, Expansion Explosion. We may actually be able to play that. And a Hellrider. Okay, so definitely a pile. Let's go ahead and see what kind of 40 we can make here now. Here is the Jeskai 40 that we were able to put together. We had to kind of go 3 colors. We didn't have enough playables to just run a 2-colored deck. And we definitely have a lot of top end with 4 and 5 mana value spells and creatures. So I've opted to put in 18 lands to hope that we don't miss our land drops. So let's see how well this Jeskai stuff can fare in this league. And we'll see if we can recommend letting the AI bot do your draft picks in the future. So here we go, match 1. Gonna see how successful this can be or not. I do have to apologize. Slight cropping issue down here at the bottom of the screens, but you can still see all the cards in the hand. This opening 7, gonna lead out with Goblin Guide. About the best we can hope for. And let's see if we can get enough damage in here. Gonna have to draw a lot of lands to make the rest of this hand usable. And we don't have any fixing or fetches, so we're just going to have to keep hitting some on-time basics here. Plains off the top is fine. Scrap Heap Scrounger going to hit the board. Cannot use its ability. And it looks like we exile a Wrath of God, or our opponent's going to draw a Wrath of God next turn. Going to keep that in mind. But we really only have one game plan right now, as our opponent casts Demonic Toots. And that's to try to get something like Hellrider and Avacyn on the board as quickly as possible. Now Mox Jet's going to speed up our opponent pretty well on this. Just hoping they don't get a Plains. But we need 2 more mana to get Archangel Avacyn down to give our creatures indestructible. So we'll see what our opponent does next turn. I don't know if we'll get out the Hellrider or not. We're going to have to draw another mountain off the top to make it viable. And we give our opponent a Plains in hand off the Goblin Guide. Okay, going into turn 3, looks like, ooh, Wall of Omens. Okay, they want to slow things down just a touch. And now they're hitting us with the Hymn. We lose the Hellrider and the Gideon. Honestly, Archangel Avacyn and Restoration Angel are probably the best cards to keep. Blue Island off the top means Restoration Angel is live. And we'll see what our opponent wants to do. I don't want to flash it in right now, as our opponent can play Wrath of God on their next turn. And there is the Wrath of God, kind of like we expected. All right, but we will be able to flash this Restoration Angel in. And our opponent is down to 9. Unfortunately, they have a Lingering Souls in hand, and I don't see us being able to get through those blockers very quickly. Okay, now Expansion Explosion is interesting, as we will be able to copy an opponent's spell, so we can copy Lingering Souls to get 2 more attackers. This is going to be close. So we'll get in there, get them down to 6. And another land would be great here, so we can cast Archangel Avacyn, again at instant speed. Underground Sea for the opponent. And this looks like a Lingering Souls. It is. we're going to copy this as it's really one of the only targets. We want to maximize the use of the cards in our hand here. We just need to pressure that life total as fast as possible. Now, they are going to be able to cast it again. Ooh, they Vindicate. Okay, Vindicate was pretty good. Batterskull, not the greatest one. We only got 4 lands on top, unfortunately. And I'm going to hold back here as I'd like to flash in Archangel Avacyn to give our spirit tokens indestructible. Kind of getting out-mana'd here. That's kind of the power of Sensei's Divining Top is you're usually going to be able to hit your land drops. Scarab God is a problem. All right, land tax. A little late here. Gonna slow it down again here. The thing is, now they have Scarab God mana up, and they're gonna be able to cast Hellrider, Wall of Omens. I mean, there's some decent creatures in the graveyard here for our opponent to turn into tokens with the Scarab God. All right, they cast back, or they flash back Lingering Souls. Get in there for 5. Now, we will get our lands this turn thanks to land tax. So we'll just go fetch out some of our lands. This will allow us to play Archangel Avacyn. And we will just pass here, I think. Well, no, let's get in there, and then we'll flash in Archangel Avacyn. This will get rid of 2 of their tokens. All right, Hellrider, very scary. That's a lot of damage coming through. And it's our own Hellrider, too, to add insult to injury. Goblin Guide for some more. And this is actually just too much damage to deal with, I think. Yeah. We can only block 1. We're taking 5 off the Hellrider triggers. And that is going to, I believe, be lethal. Yep, that'll be lethal. All right, game 1 down. It was close, closer than I expected. We were kind of at the mercy of the top of our library there. But, all right, game 2, we're down a game. We're just going to run this 40 back. And this hand, I think, has to go to mulligan. Really slow, no blue mana. This hand, awkward. But are we going to get something better? Like, I don't know. I guess we'll keep it because I don't really want to go down to 5. Going down to 5 is just such a huge disadvantage, especially on the play. And since we have no fast mana or anything like that, we're just going to be very slow. So I think this is about as, we're just going to have to accept this hand as the way it is. Let's put the Archangel Avacyn back. And we'll lead out on the Ragavan Triome, our only fixing land that we got to pick during the draft. All right, seeing Mox Ruby from our opponent. Kind of sad. All right, we'll get Giver Runes down, turn Giver on. And next turn, we're going to plan to get the Student of Warfare down. All right. Wow, Bitter Blossom and Skull Clamp, the infinite card draw engine. Not much we can do about that. We don't have a disenchant or anything. So, not sure. We're definitely going to be at the card disadvantage here. And we need to just draw lands. Running lands right now to get these cards, to be able to play the cards on our hands. So, like, Mountain is probably the best draw off the top as we can attack with our Hellrider. All right. Mountain off the top. We'll get in there with Hellrider. Hopefully no Mana Tithe. All right, and I think I'm going to leave the Giver back as I want to protect my Hellrider and Student of Warfare from a card like Swords to Plowshares. And we do have Palace Jailer mana next turn as well, which will help us draw into some stuff here. We'll see what our opponent does with their Road Token, if they're going to equip Skull Clamp or not. They are. They just want to draw more cards, okay? Oh, Wrath of God. Yep, unfortunate. That was really great for them. So I'll play... Okay, so we can play a Baneslayer here now. That's not going to be able to get through the Bitter Blossom tokens. But we may be able to play Palace Jailer next turn and get in for 5. Thoughtseize. All right, no Palace Jailer. It's unfortunate. And then Path to Exile. This is just super painful. Our opponent has infinite cards, and we now have no cards in hand and a just basics looking forward to draw to. And because we weren't able to draft really much interaction, like the best we can hope for is just some, big dumb creature off the top. All right, well, that's a decent. Unfortunately, there's no spells in our graveyard that we can exile with it. We still will pump this, though, make it a 3/3 haste. So not as much value here, but we can still pressure our opponent a little bit. Remember, their life total is ticking down with Bitter Blossom very slowly. All right, Lily's just super painful. I just don't see a way back in this. We've just been destroyed by card advantage. And with our opponent basically drawing 3 cards a turn, 4 cards a turn now with Kaito Suzuki. Yeah, land tax. Just very slow. They uptick Lily. They have 1,000,000 cards in hand. The cards, left in library kind of tell the picture of this game. And there's a Scarab God. That's going to be enough for me, I think. So match 1 down. It was a loss. Very painful without the interaction that we need. Let's see if we can fare any better in matches 2 and 3. All right, jumping into match 2 here. This is probably a shady keep. I mean, just the look of all these basics is so plain when you're in the Vintage Cube. But we can lead out on Swift Spear and then go turn 2 Thalia. And, whoa! I think our opponent's on tilt, as you usually don't concede to a turn 1 Monastery Swift Spear. I'll take the game win, though. We need every gimme we can get with this deck. This hand is a little awkward, but if we can get land tax down, it's going to be much better. So I'm going to Portent, plan to Portent turn 1. Hope to have some lands on top that we can draw into and see if we can make this hand work. So we'll keep it, and let's see what our opponent's up to. All right, turn 1 fast spawn from our opponent into a Jiraga Tree Speaker. Pretty good, as our opponent's really ramping out, but they only have 1 card in hand, so they mulliganed quite aggressively. So we'll port in here. Now there is a mountain on top, but that's not enough. We need a plains for this land tax to work. So we will shuffle with Portent, unfortunately. All right, blue mana, not ideal. Again, any fixing here would have been just great. Corsair Crewfix was a good draw, as now they can play every land off the top of their library with Fast Bond. So that's pretty good for free, for no life. Good combo. And they had a lot of lands on top. They had 4 lands on top? That's amazing. Wow. Good for the opponent. You always like to see stuff work pretty well like that. All right, there's a repeal. We'll repeal the fast bond, hoping to draw some more land here. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So this is definitely our own mistake. This should have been a mulligan. We are very greedy, hoping to leverage the plains off of the Portent. So it's our own fault for letting this game get out of control. Always mulligan in the Vintage Cube. I think mulliganing aggressively is pretty important. Now, going below 5 is a pretty difficult decision, especially if you're on the play. But mulligan decisions can really make or break a game. So yeah, we're just going to have to concede this. Without drawing lands, we're not going to win against that fast bond, and we'll just try it again here, game 3. All right, hoping for a better hand here. We will play first. And this one has 2 lands at least. So again, we'll keep off the power of Portent. Really need to find that plains, but I'm a little happier with having 2 lands. All right, so there's the plains. And I think we just have to keep this, right? We know we're going land, but we will get a turn 3 Geist, a turn 2 Thalia down into a turn 3 Geist, which should be pretty decent. And then one more, we'll just need one more planes to get Elspeth or Gideon on the battlefield. Hopefully we can just let this Thalia do some work for us. Alright, opponent leads on Jiraga Tree Speaker again. We'll get Thalia down. And then they level up their Tree Speaker into a Sakura Tribe Elder. That's pretty good ramp against Thalia. Alright, so we knew we were drawing 2 mountains. We will get the Geist down though. Probably should have attacked before playing the Geist. I don't think it'll change our opponent's calculus too much with Sakura Tribe Elder, but it's always better to withhold information from your opponent for as long as possible usually. Alright, our opponent chose not to sack Steve there. And again, that is probably because we played the Geist pre-combat. I would assume they would block and sack Steve if we attacked with Thalia. Now, planes off the top is not good enough here, as our Thalia will prevent our 4-mana planeswalkers from coming down. Fast spawn again from our opponent. Pretty good. Into Anissa Vastwood Seer. Okay. Yeah, they got blockers here for the Geist. I'm going to hold the Geist back, and hopefully we can play an Elspeth or a Gideon to, give the Geist flying or give the Geist +1/+1 with Gideon's emblem. And then they play their land that they got with Nissa. Okay, multiple lands in hand. They're only 2 lands away from flipping their Nissa. So we'll only be able to get in with the Thalia this turn. And Thalia hurting us as well again, as we need 6 mana now to play our Batterskull. This is the two-way street of Thalia. You really want to have a very specific deck with Thalia, mostly all creatures, things like Flicker Wisp and things like Flicker Wisp and Skyclave Apparition and Cathar Commando, ways to interact that are creatures and don't get taxed by Thalia. We had to play Thalia just because we needed enough playables with this auto pick draft. And now it's coming to bite us back a little bit. Alright, they do choose to block with Steve this time. And they're 1 mana away from flipping their Nissa. Best draw off the top is Plains right now. So they do flip their Nissa, and then they play Big Nissa, who shakes the world. They have basically infinite mana here now, with 8 mana available right now and 1,000,000 mana available next turn. So again, Plains off the top, and we can take care of Nissa, who shakes the world. Yeah, what are they going to play next now? Hornet Queen. Okay, that we cannot get through. A bunch of Flying Death Touch bees is no bueno. And I do not see a way out of this one. Not with the cards that we have. Now I'm going to attack Nissa here. If they block, we can play Batterskull. Yeah, they choose not to block, which is smart. I mean, our opponent's at Emrakul mana now. They'll animate a land. They'll get in there. Alright, big attack coming at us. Yeah, I don't think we're going to block. Again, white mana off the top, but I don't think it's enough anymore, as we're down to 6 and facing a pretty large board. Alright, 2 matches down. Not looking good for the home team. Let's see if we can get any luck here in match 3. Alright, last match. Hopefully we can make something happen here. And we'll keep this hand on the back of Ragnar and Triome being try-fixing for us. And plan to either get down the Scrap Heap Scrounger or the Thalia next turn. Alright, Mana Crypt's pretty good. Very scary to see from our opponent. Into a Steve as well. Alright. Ooh, repeal. Interesting. We can just repeal our opponent's Mana Crypt. Our other option is just again to get the Scrap Heap Scrounger down. I think I just want to get Scrap Heap Scrounger down as it represents the most damage with 3 power. And then next turn we can plan to go, if we get a land, we can play Repeal into Thalia or Unlicensed Hearse or something like that. Our opponent fetches an island off their Steve and wins their Mana Crypt trigger. Okay, multiple colors here from our opponent. Teamer so far. And a Garrick. Alright, so Repeal going to come in clutch here as we'll be able to repeal our opponent's Wolf token and attack down their Garrick with the Scrap Heap Scrounger. So, and we drew a land, which means we can play Thalia as well. So this turn worked out really nicely for us. And that means next turn we'll have either Restoration Angel or be able to play Geist of Saint Traft. So luckily our mana curve is working out right now. Opponent loses the flip for their Mana Crypt. I'll take it. 2 mana into Wrenn and 6. Okay, that'll take care of Thalia for sure. And then they pass the turn back. All right, let's get this Wrenn and 6 off the battlefield. Hopefully. All right, Wrenn and 6 down. I'll take it. And we can either hold up Restoration Angel or play Geist. And I think I want to hold up Restoration Angel here. Our opponent once again loses the flip. That's 6 damage to him. I'll take it. Deranged Hermit. All right. Yeah, that makes Geist of Saint Traft not look so great, but Restoration Angel looks decent now because it can fly over the Hermit's armies of squirrel tokens. And I gotta assume that our opponent is gonna pay the Echo here. White land would have been great. So we can get the Hearse down. And I'm not gonna attack with the Scrap Heap Scrounger. I'm gonna plan to use the Scrap Heap Scrounger to crew the Hearse. So we'll just get in with the Restoration Angel for now. And maybe we'll be able to win in the air here. Our opponent does pay that Echo cost, kind of as expected. Okay, they play a Cradle, so now they have infinite mana into a Ponder. Cradle and Deranged Hermit always feels great. Alright, OP swings out with their squirrel tokens. 2 of them. And we'll just take this for now. And we'll plan to grow our Hearse here. Alright, Plains was an amazing draw for Baneslayer Angel. And I want to get in with the Geist as well because it's going to be 7 damage in the air. And then if our opponent loses their Mana Crypt flip, then that'll do it for them. So putting them down to 3 is kind of critical here. And we'll play Baneslayer here, second main. Alright, opponent wins their flip. They're still alive. Okay, yep, and they did not have an answer. Alright, game 2. This seems like a keepable hand because land tax is going to help us just get lands out of our deck and have perfect mana for the rest of the game. So we will lead out on land tax here. Ooh, or do we lead out on Swift Spirit? No, let's lead out on land tax. This is going to be too important. We can play Swift Spirit next turn. Alright, opponent cracks their Delta, gets out an Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. So ramping pretty well there. They have 5, potentially 6 mana next turn. We will use land tax here, though. Fetch out some lands. Hearse was a great draw with Uro. I don't think we need to play it yet, though, because they're not going to have nearly enough cards in their graveyard yet to escape Uro. But we can look to play it next turn. Alright, Elder Golgoroth is definitely a problem. It's going to get through our blockers pretty well It's just a pretty big beater, and since we have no removal, since the auto picker did not let us draft any removal, getting through the Gargoth is going to prove difficult. Maybe we'll be able to get the hearse big enough to make it happen, but I'm not sure. As that Gargoth is going to start getting in there and making creatures or drawing cards. Steve from our opponent. And Gargaroth attacks in. What are they going to do? They're going to make a beast? Alright, they do choose to make a 3/3 green beast token. It's pretty smart. They're just going to overwhelm us here pretty quick. We'll block with the Swift Spear and give it protection from green, but the trample is still going to trample through over the Swift Spear, even with protection, unfortunately. But we need to save as much damage as we possibly can. And then we'll use the hearse here end of turn to get rid of that Uro. Okay, drawing a land off the top, not ideal. We don't have many lands left in our deck. We won't, especially after this. Oh, and they didn't play a land. Okay, so we didn't get to activate land tax there. I still think we play a land here and get Hellrider down just as another blocker. And we see if we can grow this hearse big enough. Our opponent sacks Steve, fetches out another island. Alright, they do play their 5th land, so they have 7 mana available. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Alright, yeah, true teamer going on over here. They'll return the Giver to our hand. In response, we'll give our Hellrider pro green. Alright, opponent does decide to get in there with the Gargaroth and the Beast token. Making another Beast token. Now we're going to take 6 here. I'll block the Beast token. This Unlicensed Hearse is pretty slow to grow to a pretty big size, unfortunately. But we will get to activate land tax again now, which is nice. And we'll be able to just dump 2 more lands into our graveyard as well. Gosh, we drew another land. We only had like 3 lands left in the deck. That's some pretty unlucky draw there. So we'll get Thalia down. Thalia can crew the hearse. No attacks. And we'll put some lands in our graveyard. Just 1, unfortunately. I wonder if it would have been better to maybe not play Giver and discarded 2 lands this turn. Because we could have gotten our Unlicensed Hearse up to a 6/6. Well, that helps out. Our opponent plays Ponder, which goes to the graveyard. So we can get our Hearse up to a 6/6, which means we can finally block this Gargaroth. Yep, we'll just have to let that resolve from Jace putting our Hellrider back in our hand. Alright, I will block the Gargaroth here. But then we're going to go down to 7. I don't think I want to block the other creatures. So we'll crew the Hearse, and then before damage, once it's blocking, we'll activate the Hearse ability to make it a 6/6. And honestly, I should probably block the Beast token here with the Monastery Swift Spear, just to save some damage, I think. So we'll block, and then we'll grow the Hearse here. And we've successfully gotten this Gargaroth off the battlefield, but it made 3 Beast tokens for our opponent, which is pretty decent. Now we can get the Jace off the battlefield with this Hellrider by playing Hellrider next turn and attacking with 1 creature. And our opponent's got all the mana dorks. But we may be able to get back in this, but we need to draw some action here. And we should, because we basically pulled all the lands out of our deck. And our opponent played another land. So we'll be able to pull all the lands out of our deck here. So in every draw now, except for Ragnar Triome, is live. Repeal's pretty good, as we can take care of a Beast token. We'll have to pay the tax through the Thalia. Batterskull is another good draw, but now we can get Hellrider down. And I'm giving Pro Green pre-combat, but we don't need to. Because maybe they block, and then we give it Pro Green. And we'll discard down to 7 cards again. So now we just need to fade some powerful spells here. And with our opponent drawing off the top, I'm feeling, you know, moderately confident here. Because next turn we'll get the Batterskull down, and hopefully that'll stabilize our life total really well. So, yeah, this block I'm not sure about. We could have gone to 4, but I guess I'm just really protecting our life total. All right, our opponent has infinite mana again here with Jiraga up to level 5. There's Resto. So we can't play both, but we can get Batterskull down. And I don't think it's worth attacking here. I just want to, again, stabilize a little bit. So I think we will get in here with the Swift Spear. If they choose the block, then that's fine. Yeah, we'll take this trade all day. And we'll give our Swift Spear Pro Green here. Take care of 2 of their mana dorks. They still have pretty much infinite mana, though. With that Devoted Druid able to make 4 mana. Infiniter mana now. With the Guy's Cradle Deranged Hermit combo. Scrap Heap Scrounger kind of weak. But I think we can get in here with this Batterskull. So many basics when I look at this hand and this board for us. So let's move this Batterskull over to the First Striker, as that'll make a lot of difference here in them trying to kill it with their squirrel tokens. And then it also gives us a Vigilance attacker here with First Strike as well, so this will really push our life total up. That's a beefy Thalia right there, that's for sure. So I'm leaving 3 mana up here to return Batterskull to our hand in case they have a way to destroy it. I think that's more important than playing Scrap Heap, because this Batterskull is what's going to keep us in this game. There's the Ragavan Triumph. Let's cycle that bad Johnny. Jace, okay. So we can play both Jace and hold up Restoration Angel. And then next turn, after we flash in Restoration Angel, we'll be able to equip the Batterskull to it and get in there for 7, which is pretty good. And we'll pass the turn here. We just got to evade a Craterhoof Behemoth here. I think we'll be okay. All right, no Craterhoof. So we'll flash in Resto. We will not use Resto's ability, as I don't want any of our creatures to re-get summoning sick. We just don't need to do it. And let's draw here with Jace. Avacyn, all right. That'll make Jace into a Planeswalker. We do have a Repeal still in our graveyard. So let's actually repeal another one of these squirrel tokens away. Draw another card. This will trigger Prowess. Expansion Explosion. All right, we kind of have it all here right now. Because we can attack for 9 here in the air. We don't need to draw any more cards on our side, as we're down to 8 cards in library. Fetching all those lands out really thinned us out, which was nice. And next turn, if we need to, we can just explosion our opponent out by making them take damage and draw cards. And then we can flash in Avacyn here, end of our opponent's turn. And then we'll have plenty of flyers in the air to get over this board. And that should do it for this game. I really don't want to draw that many cards. So maybe I shouldn't do this right now. We should just attack in. It's kind of greedy. We can draw like 4 cards though, right? Yeah, we can draw 5 cards. All right. We got there in match 3. This auto pick deck, wouldn't recommend, but now that you can see how the auto picker drafts, you know whether to not to adhere to its recommendations or not in the future. So thanks for hanging, thanks for chilling with me here, and I'll see you next time.